Respect.
Hello, everybody. It's James the Bone, discovered and dedicated to original peoples as always. And we got a special guest on, Raz Congo. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, James. How are you, brother?
Good to have you on anyway. And today,
It's great to be here once again, man. You know what I mean?
well, let's get the cameras set ready. Good, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And let's get this thing rolling now. All right, then. Yeah. So today, me and Raz were having a discussion on, we want to do a podcast on the spirit world. And when we say the spirit world, that can mean many different things. There's no limitations when we speak on the spirit world. You know, whether you want to speak on it as dimensions, you can speak on it as the unseen realms, whatever. To me, it's all just the same thing. So it's just sometimes we might use different words to reach people in languages, not linguistics. You know what I'm saying? So Raz, today, where you think we should begin with this? I mean, we can go many
I
places.
think, I think first and foremost, right, extend love and respect to you and your family, right?
Peace.
Um, where do we start with this? I think the African family. I think
That's right.
it
Yeah.
would be very fitting to start with the African family as the foundation
Mm-hmm.
of civilization, And
So
we
the
know
old.
that Africans taught the world civilization, James.
So let's deal with something called oral history. Oral
Hmm.
history, because before there was writing, there was always oral history. You know, writing's not a beginning thing, you know what I'm saying? But we're not just dealing with development, we're dealing with the beginning thing. So oral history,
Hmm.
pass down information, father to son, and passing on rituals. Um, Now, to go just into the early phases before different kind of clans spread out, because when these different people, movements. It's Africa was always about movements. The planet was about movement. If no one
Hmm.
stays still, if nature decides to create big floods where you are, droughts where you are, that means you got to go and move somewhere else. And
Hmm.
this is life. You know what I'm saying?
Climate changes. So
That's
we
it.
know that we know like what was once lakes have become deserts.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a few generations, those things can happen.
And what's interesting about that is 1 minute you got desert, or 1 minute you got grassland, lakes, wet vegetation. And it's interesting because speaking to Professor Carver, and he mentioned about today is not always like tomorrow, or yesterday is not. One day it's
There
raining
must be a
heavy,
change in this life.
thundering, this and that. Next day it's just
Yeah,
nice, sunshine, perfect. So
yeah, yeah.
so all these concepts our ancestors have learned, and I think it's like you have to be connected to nature. I think in this Western world, what we're in, nature is not taken as serious. They'll go and chop too many trees down.
Taken for
They'll
granted.
it is
Yeah.
it's so really it's the
I think
ancestors.
that's the core. That's the
Yeah,
core of spirit for me,
yeah,
James.
yeah,
That's the core of spirituality when you embrace nature, and let's not be afraid to say Mother Nature, the
yeah.
feminine aspect. And
That's
even
it.
when King Solomon allegedly prayed for wisdom, the Greek Sophia, yeah, he saw it as the feminine principle, which links up with the left hemisphere. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
man. With compassion and all them type of things.
And
So
then that's
yeah,
interesting. And then
no, because
within the
it's a
oral
link.
history,
Yeah, it's a
sorry,
link, man.
yeah. So within the oral history as well, we have creation stories we must speak on. So if
Yeah,
we're trying to look at the ancestors, well, what would and also we have a lot of metaphors. Let's not get confused of like when someone reads religious scriptures and takes every single word literally. You got to understand truth, metaphors, and deeper
yeah.
meanings. Things like that. So when I could talk about my own tribe, I'm a Ijo. I'm surrounded by the water. Even though it's like the water, we spoke about water spirits, mermaids, and
Mhm.
examples. But the essence of something, they spoke on the divine feminine,
Yes,
the principles of coming
yes,
from the black cosmic womb. That's where we came from.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely,
so clearly connecting cycles of the females and connecting the cycles of the universe and beyond.
absolutely. Just that's what they say.
So,
Dark matter,
yeah,
material.
It's
It's
all
actually
connected.
mother. It's
Yeah.
in like mother is the root of that, innit?
And then,
Mater.
so the matriarchal system, which was in most of Africa, it's under a Bantu system. And, how much the Bantu spread, that says a lot. And, Kemet are there. So now we have the patriarchal system now. The patriarchal is a totally different. And so we look at like ancient Egypt during this time play when the Hyksos came in. Now, if you connect this to religion, the Hyksos would be considered as the Shepherd Kings, the
Hmm.
um, the Hebrews, if you want it,
Yeah.
according to these scriptures. That's fine. That's no problem. But at the same time, we acknowledge these people as the Hyksos coming in, famine and this and that, and basically somebody else came in and took over Egypt, and instead of those people who were considered as Hyksos or Hebrews to take the side of the Egyptians, they took the side of the invaders. But we see these things all the time where people will take the side of the invaders. It's not, I mean, we can see people are like sellers out today, and it was no different than yesterday or in ancient times.
Hmm.
And so when we're dealing with spirituality, it's more deeper. Like we recognize also with spirituality, there's a dark force of spirituality. There's a good force of spirituality. It's
Hmm.
a duality completely. So when we recognize these and we deal with the principles, the cosmic principles, the universal laws, we come up with the same conclusions of the diversity, you know. And when we say diversity, we don't mean it like dividing everything to become separate. It's because that's all the Western world. We see anything, this divide, that divide, this divide. And if you look at science, the ancient science is so vast, so vast. Over in the West, it's just five sense reality: touch, taste,
I
smell.
think as
Yeah,
well, James.
I
Like when
mean,
you look at like, you look at like the knowledge that is was in Africa then.
yeah,
Like we look at the Mali Songhai. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Coming up to like Senegal, everybody, every culture had the knowledge,
mm,
and in many ways it was oral tradition, and there was many writings as well, and libraries were there in abundance,
yeah,
and they were burned, and what wasn't burned was taken to Rome,
yeah,
probably in the catacombs of the Vatican, you
yeah.
know what I mean? And we were like, so when we look at civilization, we look at like, you know, the Benin, for example, you know, there's a great Zimbabwe empires. There were so many empires. We don't just have to focus on Kemet, but Kemet was like a hub,
And
right?
one of the key things,
The
they all
Greeks
had,
called Egypt. Kemet was a hub.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
they all a part of the spiritual system as well.
Yeah,
Also, that's what's so interesting. All
it, it was it,
spiritual.
it was the marriage between the spiritual and the material in terms of
Yeah,
advancement, progress.
yeah,
So it was like, the origins of mathematics, science, arts, culture, even like metallurgy and
hmm,
agriculture and all these things, marriage, education, funerary,
yeah, yeah.
like burials and all that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what makes civilization civilization.
You know what's so interesting about it? Say from different people have different perspectives about they view the world. And when we say view the world, like if you're religious, for example, depending on what religion you are. Now, I'm not talking about individuals because some individuals are open-minded. They can, you know, but sometimes you have a doctrine that kind of makes people take everything literally. I'll give an example. You're talking about the feminine principle before we were speaking about. There's a lot of the female deities are mostly the oldest in the world, you know. And what's interesting about that, these deities, is they all have a similar story of coming from the womb. It's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's the only thing that actually makes sense, to be honest. I mean, who's going to argue with that? Do you get what I'm saying? Saying, well, then you must have come from somewhere else. Then
I
you
think
know what I
as well,
mean?
like, we embrace nature, Mother Nature, but Mother Nature is Father God, same way. So
Yeah,
we embracing that, right? And the woman is the portal in it. I mean, like the ancients, and
Yeah.
we who have some remnants of the ancient knowledge, the ancients would see the woman as the portal of life. New life comes through the female. You know what I mean? So the female is to be venerated. You know what I mean?
Look, in
Um,
Arabia there used to be a female deity before Islam, and you see this certain places, and it makes you think like, well, that's because you live in a matriarchal system, and then a patriarchal system comes. And now, if you look at a patriarchal system from different ways, though, let's look at it from two different ways. One, yeah, you can look at it from the perspective of it's war, aggression, it's this. But at the same time, I think the patriarchal depends on the level it is. If we've got to fight to defend our home, our village, our, we don't even use word country, our geographical area, and we've got to go out and fight and we've got to be aggressive. I understand that's where that masculine energy comes in powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because so what I mean is the patriarchal and the matriarchal. There has to be a balance. There has to be some sort of balance with it. Where I feel like in the Western world, it's um, it's totally it's
I
a
think
different
I
it's a
think
different
I
place.
think even Africa's lost that, bro.
Well, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
change,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Definitely. I mean, like
changing,
if you look at like abuse, there's a lot of women, like wives, common law wives, and children that are abused.
yeah,
Through the frustrations of the mandem. You know what I mean? But the
mm,
spirituality aspect is interesting because we can say to ourselves, you know, what is spirituality? What is consciousness? You
mm,
know what I mean? And like we can talk about identity, and I think like
yeah,
everybody will express themselves different. You know what I mean? I see
mm,
spirituality as my true identity
yeah,
because I
yourself,
see myself as a spiritual entity. Yeah.
mm,
So with the entity, like the good brother said, identity,
yeah,
right? So therefore, I know I have lived many lives in many worlds, in many forms, right? And different realms, dimensions, call it what you will. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And sometimes um, these things are happening all the time at the same time
yeah.
because time and space is just circular. You know what I mean, bro? And I
Well,
think everything is happening now. You know what I
interesting.
mean?
Look what
And there's many ways where the our ancestors looked up to the stars, and
yeah.
that's the origin of as in heaven, so shall it be on earth.
And the same with what they like to call animism, of like
Yes.
believing every living thing having a soul, every object, natural object, what I mean,
It has to because if it was if it's a part of creation, it's not man-made.
a
It's a
life
part of
force.
creation. It's natural. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it has to have a soul. You know what I mean? Even a rock can record. You know what I mean? A tree is a living being. The rings of the tree show you how old the tree is. You know what I
Mm.
mean? The tree is, symbiote in the sense of more trees. The more trees there is, the better it is for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. True it is.
And we
So,
can use trees for
mm,
resources, but we don't have to overuse it. I
yeah.
like the way you got the tree in the background there.
Yeah.
You know?
Palm trees, man. You know what I mean?
But
Just keeps
everything
that
does.
flow.
The cow has a soul, right?
Yeah.
And the blade of grass the cow's eating's got a soul, right?
Hmm.
Not to say because we have to open up our minds, you know. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
it
saying?
is.
Yeah,
Some
and
people
when a
can't have
leaf
these type of
drops,
discussions,
when
man.
a leaf drops in you have some trees that are evergreen. You have some
Yeah.
trees that shed the leaf, and then in springtime the leaves grow again, the flowers grow again.
Mm.
That's just the cycle of life, isn't it? It's the cycle of life, my friend.
Yeah.
It's the universal order.
Exactly. you know. And it is interesting that throughout all the history, creation stories and then flood stories, you've got things that relate around the planet as well. So see, the kind of if we look at what we call Pangea, example, you're talking about beginnings of stuff. So the way we're told is Pangea, it's split off before humanity was even born. Not even just they say humanity, even what they call these um, Australopithecines and the stage of that's not even there. So what's so interesting is within certain people's creation stories, they speak on floods. So continents, lost continents like Lemuria, Atlantis, and these lost civilizations, and even people in the Pacific. I met myself who spoke to them. They have big stories on their stories are deep on Lemuria. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, whatever words or language people want to use, it basically in the last few thousand years, there's probably been major catastrophes that have like destroyed land masses or the sea levels have risen. Could they say like some say like a lot? It's risen high in the last 10,000 years, the last ice age or something like that. So a lot of these stories seem connected. Some of them seem connected to science. I don't really subscribe to evolution. And what I would subscribe to is that, yes, cycles and changes to the planet. Like, for example, what Carver was saying, what today is not necessarily tomorrow.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely. Absolutely, bro. Because,
yeah,
like we said, there's been lakes that have dried up, wetlands that have
mm,
become deserts. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And we've had cities that have become submerged with oceans, and the
yeah.
proof's there. You know what I mean?
And look at
Yeah,
even people going from originally people were black to all these different,
yeah.
what you call races. If they, like, people
Mm.
create what they've. It just shows you there's things that yet you can believe that like they can happen over thousands of years, but at the same time, the interesting part is we always got to be open minded to did we evolve out of this evolution? Now I can't believe like we came from like it was this ape like. Now, like I say, I can't just say it's completely impossible, but it wouldn't actually make sense. It wouldn't make sense
Well,
if
think
you know what
about
I
what
mean.
you just said, right? I mean, like, I wouldn't describe myself as a creationist in that sense,
Mm,
right? But like, think about what you said, right? If Africans were the original people,
yeah,
due to traveling and coming in conjunction with different ecosystems, climates, and things like that over a portion of time, certain changes happen.
yeah,
That is a form of evolution, isn't it? Adapting,
yeah. And
you
then,
you evolve into your environment. And
yeah,
if that can happen,
mm,
like at what part of history did the first white start showing
yeah,
up?
that's right.
Oh, oh,
They say
you know,
6,000 years now,
yeah, yeah.
Jordan
Or
around
with
the
the mix of,
Caucasus.
I don't know whether Neanderthals, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or these
Neanderthal.
things, or Cro-Magnon man, whatever these people are termed as, right? Um, but I think if I think it's more of a case that could be some hocus pocus, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying. That's what I'm
no, it
saying.
could be
Like,
some hocus pocus, right?
yeah,
To take away from the fact that it was the earth was being seeded
mm,
by a particular people who were going among different ecosystems and climates and things, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Different weather systems. So, I mean, I'm not saying all that's baloney. I'm just saying that as a free thinking individual, you have to be prepared not to put all your eggs in one basket. You
yeah,
understand?
yeah,
Yeah, man. So like there's many possibilities, but like as a kid growing up, right? I remember like they used to, because I used to love history. I love a lot of things English. I love school. I used to get stimulated, you know what I mean, bro? So I remember like history and geography were like I was quite interested, maths and all that, right? So I'm in history now. And in the books, I never see no black people in the books, you know. So even when they're talking about the Carthage Empire and that, right, they're looking like they're from Italy,
Mm,
right? And like they're talking about cavemen, and the cavemen are white. And I said, I remember mentioning these things to the teacher. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Said like, could it have been possible black people were building pyramids when these people were living like that?
yeah,
You know what I mean? But there's that's the whitewashing, you know, which is a form of spiritual attack, by the way, because we are talking about spirituality, and what we're saying is that you know the spirit could be like the hand that moves the puppet. The puppet could even be the flesh and the bone, but
deep,
that the
yeah,
spirit, and that's why we have to be open to positive vibrations,
yeah.
not the
That's right.
negative,
That's
not the
it.
bad mind. Because you have bad mind, you attract that kind, that spirit, that kind with the bad mind. You
Mm,
know what I mean? So like we just, I think the ancients, the ancestors, you know what I mean, and even our grandparents who are ancestors still, they had a lot of that wisdom still left.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
In
Yeah,
tune
man.
with the
Like what?
spirit
Yeah,
and
like to
the
be in tune and to, you know what I mean?
and to be
To
really in tune as well. Usually, people who are really in tune, they know to say no a lot to people like who guide them into some sort of temptation that they know it ain't about that, or even the people, if they've got children, the friends, the kids come around, or basically just they're in tuned and they're able to pick up these vibrations because they're so in tuned. Like they sense danger. They see it before it
yeah, yeah,
comes. You see it
absolutely.
miles away coming. And it's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
like these shamans, like on a deep level. Now,
Well,
where we are today, we
a
got
lot of
people who
those
just like
abilities,
money. That's a problem today. You know what I mean?
a lot of them abilities we had, and we're
Yeah,
losing
yeah,
because the way the world is, and you know, like religion, you know, survival, these type of distractions. You know what I mean? Um, and we're losing, like like the knowledge of, like, say, the garden, the herbs as a medicine, and that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have passed out in the last generation or two, and they've taken a lot of that knowledge with them. You know,
yeah.
a lot of the younger kids are like unaware of it. It's been lost in some ways. It wasn't recorded.
But this is another thing. Some of the books that are out there. Some of our great scholars have written, whether about spirituality, sacred science, and these types of things. A lot of the time, we don't know eventually what's going to be out of print, taken off the shelf. And this is why books are so important as well, and the thing is as well, I had someone on the show, was an interesting guy, from out the States. Now, he wasn't no particular scholar. It was just like we connected on through the Branoka Rashidi. And started like following me stuff and that. Then I got him on because I thought his brother's knowledgeable, he's speaking to him. And then he was telling me about the amount of books he's got in his library. I mean, he has like, I don't know what the podcast back, but he said he had a serious amount of books. So he was saying, what does he do eventually when he passes? Who am I going to leave my books to? And really, he took it really serious, as in like, I can pass it down to whoever is there, but then what will they do with them?
Mm.
Are these just like pushed to the shelf to the side, or do you pass it to someone who's going to carry the legacy of these books and pass them on and teach people and learn? And it is really deep because really, if you're trying to pass a message on, I've had people might say to me, can you lend the book of me? And they haven't even read the book. They might have the book there for like a year, 2 years, and then next minute
Never read it.
and your book's gone missing. You're out of a book now. So
I know,
it does me head in them things. Don't borrow a book to look smart.
I know.
You borrow the book, and
And read it,
it's
you know
simple.
what I mean?
You get,
And then
you know what
read
I
it,
mean?
do some research, and then come with a book and say, "Do you want to borrow this, kid?"
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And some
yeah.
people will borrow your book, and put a hot cup of coffee on it, bro,
No
and use it
respect.
as a what they call it,
Or
a coaster.
burn some
Use
bud
it
on
as
it
a
or something like
coaster,
that.
bro.
Roll up a
Yeah.
J or something.
But
Yeah,
it's true, John. It's like if you have like if you committed to knowledge and that, like that brother was, and many other people are. It comes a point where because everybody's different. The family's made up of different layers,
yeah,
especially now. What made families tight in the decades ago has become less. You know what I mean? Of
yeah.
a strength in this day and age. You know what I mean? So it is
Mm,
hard. It's hard to keep the family together. It's hard to keep some of the younger ones on the straight and narrow, even if you trying your best to lead by example. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
that's where like the spiritual teachings come in
Mm,
because like we have to have man is spiritual and material. We have to use the spiritual light. We have to use the material. And I think you know if you have young people, because talking about legacies and who do I leave the knowledge with, if we can impart that onto young people, have it in a space where young people are, do you know what I mean? Um, get it out to them,
yeah.
um, run workshops and things like that. You know what I mean?
You don't
Not all
recognize the
young people
value.
would be interested in it, but some
Yeah,
would, and
yeah.
that's it, man. Because at the end of the day, if the building's on fire, you can't save everyone.
No, that's right. Totally true. It is, and
And it's on fire, baby. It's on
yeah.
fire, man.
Well, some people like I say, in this day and age now, some people might look at a lot of certain things superstitious. Some people might look at religion superstitious, spirituality superstitious. But other than that, it's let's look at like what were they trying to do? I mean, whether the Aboriginal Australians, you see them, they're very spiritual people. You know what I'm saying? And if we look at spirituality and look and think, well, when a lot of people go to Egypt to study, yeah, I'm talking about the people into the spirituality, the deep. So place like Tibet,
Yeah,
you hear about India, don't you? People going
yes.
to connect with monks and shamans and
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
yoga and this and that. But
Going on a spiritual journey.
now here's what I analyze here, Raz. This is the part now. When people are going out on the ventures, yes, they can go to Egypt, but you don't really see them venturing anywhere else in Africa
Mm.
to gain spirituality. Don't get me wrong, you got some of our people who are heading over to Benin, the city of Benin, not the city of Benin, in Nigeria, Benin,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's still live there. What I mean is now, if you look at Africa as a vast continent, I feel like it's been hit with religion too much, where it's lost a lot of its spirituality in
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. The
in
old
large
traditional
forms.
ways have gone. They've been frowned upon.
So people might now, you could go to say India now, certain parts. Now I know they have Hinduism, but there's something within Hinduism that are similar to Kemet.
Definitely, bro. I think
You know what I'm
I think
saying?
if you look at Hinduism and you get in touch with the aspects of nature in it, the
Yeah.
zoology,
Mm-hmm.
the totemism, and all that, right? It does
Yeah.
it is very quite close to the Kemet mystery
Mm-hmm.
system. It is,
Yeah.
bro. But that's what it
Outside.
was. It was a mystery system in the sense of you know Um, in those days, church was a place where you didn't just like do hymns and close your eyes. You learned university and church and all that was one and the same, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Say
You were
Japan.
like you were going through like a transformation with
Mm.
the knowledge.
Like China and Japan, example. think Japan is a Shinto or something. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
is it? So what I mean is they haven't completely said, "Oh, we're taking on Christianity or we're taking on like in large form." Yes, there's people who are those
Uh-huh.
religions, but they've been able to resist it where there hasn't been such an impact. The same with China. They've been able to resist it in a way. Not saying people, yeah, you will get Christian, Muslims, and this
Yeah.
and that, but they've been able to resist it in a way the way Africa has not been able to resist it.
Yeah. I
You
think
know, it's really deep, and
it's the missionaries in it.
I hope people think
Missionaries,
about
bro.
these. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
But
the
but with the
missionaries came with a
missionaries
version of
and with the
Christianity.
missionaries, but remember though, they were in the Philippines. You know, they were in these missionaries within the Pacific
Yeah, I
Islands,
know, I know.
and they really felt deep into religion, even though they still got certain traditions that are there. But you
Yeah,
can still see like the white Jesus, or you can still see
yeah.
you know, it's unbelievable. Like it is.
I think, we really have been conditioned to hate self, man.
Mm,
So
deep.
the idea of a white son of God, right,
Mm,
to me and you may be preposterous, not in the sense of we're not into white people. No, it's like,
yeah, false,
it's got to
a
be,
false deity. You know, it didn't.
it is,
This.
yeah, yeah. So basically,
Mm,
right, we look at that and we say, okay, so a lot of people like being colonialized in the
yeah,
out, like in the diaspora and within the motherland. In
yeah,
some ways, some people in the motherland have just not had no access to a lot.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I remember like going around Kigali in Rwanda and with my kids as well,
yeah,
And I was just saying, "Oh, are you a Christian?" To various people say, "Yeah." I said, "What color was Jesus?" And they say, "Jesus is white."
yeah.
And like, well, that's 10 people, 9 people would say that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that to me is like a mind control program.
And another thing as well, which what's an issue, is what a big issue is as well. It's not so much of just the mysteries started there, and they obviously come with the colonizers at times. It's not even just down to that. It's the fact when the appoint a puppet leader who's an African, another brother like ourselves, just looks just like them, and then he's there to keep them oppressed. And also, Lord, for example, where when you allow people to don't make Christianity the head of the country or even Islam, have something to do with your own traditions, which still show your identity, something that's connected to your spirituality, because your culture,
Yeah.
your language,
Unfortunately, though,
you know what I'm saying?
unfortunately, the missionaries taught them that it's all of the diabolical of the devil in it.
Yeah,
They've been like, and they've been denied access to certain knowledge.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They've been kept in ignorance in it, really. Do you
true.
know what I mean? The same way that we were kept, well, our generation in the Caribbean were kept in ignorance on the plantations. It's the same in Africa as well.
You
You
know,
know what I mean?
even
And like anytime somebody comes with the divine agenda of um, self reliance, right? They become a target of the West because
yeah,
the West, Walter Rodney wrote a great book called How Europe, right, underdeveloped Africa. And racism and all these things are just economic tools. It's better we look at it as what it really is. It's been sown as division, but only for a distraction for the people, right, who consider themselves the elite to continue to rob the people more.
yeah,
Yeah. So
mm,
it's an economical tool because
so
race
right,
doesn't really exist. You
yeah,
know what I mean? That's
yeah,
fucking that. You know what I mean? There once was a time in the world where people wasn't really that much bothered about the color of your skin as much as the color of your eyes or your hair. It was what you were with, what you had, what was your value. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
we've been sold a false version of events, history, and ourselves, and it's just a lifelong journey to keep on the road to learn and disseminate knowledge, share knowledge.
Well, an interesting thing you look at when people rebel, example. we have the Nation of Islam, don't we? Example. Now, a lot of people who were under Christianity, when I say under Christianity, they didn't know any better in the United States. I'm talking about. And when the Nation of Islam came, they felt like, well, this black version of Islam, and it comes with, so we say like, remove the white Christ, your false deities, and come over to. So a lot of people joined it. Now, whether or not people lasted, the movement's still going. Don't get me wrong, but it's like what the main point is. It's not a case of do we have to believe everything the nation said, or like what I mean is going back to Farad Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, the books that like the message and the
Mm.
original teachings I'm talking about. So is it a case of like people trying to understand the factual histories? So like a story in there about, I'll give you an example. The Nation of Islam have a story about Yaqub. So the Yaqub story, they say about how the white man was invented 6,000 years ago. It was a scientist, or a black scientist, who created it, done an experiment. However, he done it, not to go into all that madness, but he created the experimented, and he basically done it because he wanted to create some sort of negative type of force to be able to go against what he's surrounded by. It was really deep. But like I said, we have metaphors in creation stories. So we've heard this before, these type of things. These type of, there's all different stories. The Dogon have their stories about beings coming from the
Mhm.
stars. And so I'm not even going to be like, oh, that's crazy. But the next thing what I'm trying to say is this, other than just the metaphors, people were basically rebelling. And when people rebel, they go a particular way. They want to go against the oppressor. So
Mm.
now, where do we go? So basically, rebelling against something oppressive, which they've had to suffer. The Rodney King, the Malcolm X, and we're going back before that anyway. So the history. So what's your take on that, Raz? As far as
I
people
think, I
joining?
think, I think, no, I think the Nation of Islam came at the right time to instill,
Mm,
yeah, purpose
yeah,
for a lot of people who may have been in and out of jail, may have been heroin fiends or something.
yeah,
Um, no organization is perfect or without
yeah.
critique, right? But I think it served a great purpose. And the Garveyite connection was there because Elijah Muhammad, although he was like a student of is was it Fard Muhammad?
So you had
He
that.
was also
So
a Garveyite, you know what I mean?
yeah, so before Elijah, you'd have Farad Muhammad. He's the founder of the Nation of
Yeah,
Islam. And
yeah,
then before, you'd have like the Moorish Science Temple
that's right.
and
Which was
Noble
quite
Drew.
Masonic,
No,
which
yeah,
was
Noble
quite
Drew
Masonic,
Ali.
you know.
Noble Drew Ali. And then, yeah, Garveyites, they were all Garveyites.
Mm.
And now, funny enough, some people have mentioned that. Like, I wasn't aware of this, that Marcus Garvey was a Zionist or something. And I wasn't even on all that
A
stuff.
Zionist. I,
Like, I think
I
Chase
mean, a
referenced that one.
Zionist there's many
I don't even know that. Like I said, I haven't even heard,
definitions
but
of Zionist, but the
yeah,
Zionist
yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah,
modern era, how could Garvey be for that
yeah. I
when
didn't even. That's what I didn't
he's
understand.
against oppression, and he would
Yeah,
know that a lot of the mercantile banks and ships were run by
yeah,
Ashkenazis.
yeah.
Do you know what
This
I
is
mean?
like
So if he's talking about Zion, he's talking
something
about it.
else.
He's talking about like his true
Masonry, maybe masonry.
identity. Like if he
Yeah,
feels he's from Zion and African Hebrew,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
mm,
he did have a Christian mindset, but he also had the revolutionary mindset. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To try to break the chain and set the captive free. You know what I
So,
mean? And he did have like
mm,
that. The United what was it? The United Negro Improvement Agency
yeah, yeah.
Association. It
Okay,
had almost 6 million people one time.
yeah.
That's a phenomenon that will never take place again.
exactly. But back to the spirituality and when we say spirituality, the spirit world in particular. And it's interesting now you'll find a lot of indigenous people speak on similar to what you just said before about the unseen entities being able to control, manipulate humanity, whether good or bad, good spirits, bad spirits. And I always thought that was interesting where just you've got it because we're not around people. You don't find a lot of people where we can have these discussions with. Now we can find religious people we can have these discussions with, but it's on certain terms. But we think about spirituality of this is who we are, and it's a vast thing. It's not there's no limitation. You can't just do a book and this is spirituality. It's and then connecting science. Seeing science is unseen science is spirituality basically. So it's deep and it seems like everyone's like strayed away, and this is obviously down the line years. How come people can't build pyramids like they could back in the day? I'm watching some like Ivan Van Sertim speaking on this. He was saying even the Japanese tried to build a pyramid and it just they couldn't do it. Loads of different people were trying it,
Mm.
and it's
It's a, it's
thousands of
it's
years
it's
ago.
an ancient technology, bro, and a high degree of mathematics in it.
Deep
You know what I mean?
science
And
at
like
deep
we
level.
we've had these conversations before where
Yeah,
we say even the fact that the stone was quarried like for a
mm,
long, long way away,
yeah,
hundreds of miles in some cases, right?
mm.
Um, and to put like one stone on top of another in that precision, right? And they weigh over 2.2 tons and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's
And when people say giants could have built them, sometimes now giant, you still gotta have a brain. A giant still got to be smart to be able to build. Just because you're a
I
giant,
like that one.
you know what I'm saying?
No, no, but listen, I'm open to all sorts, bro. Because at the end of the day, we wasn't there. You know what I
Another
mean? And we
one,
can only,
an
and
interesting one.
a lot of folklore is tends to be eye science. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot about the history of humanity and other variants that have been like hidden from us. Do you
Well,
know what
there's
I
an
mean?
interesting one, yeah. If you look from deep science perspective, yeah, then you can look on from religious perspective, yeah. And deep science, like where the iron in our we got iron in our body, and the iron in the bottom, we got iron in the ground, example. So he put it like this is how we were able to find and fit. Even to begin, how do you even smell iron? Even to first of all, you got to find the iron, isn't it? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And so he's putting it in Professor Small, very interesting. Now he's come from a scientific perspective, like deep. Then people come from a religious perspective, say, you know what, these jinns or these
Yeah.
whatever you want to call them helped us smelt iron. Now that's a whole other thing now because that's something that is you're working with some sort of entity, just like the shamans spoke of,
Mm.
and it can it can be looked at in you can look so religion does have it,
No, I think
spirituality does have it, and
anything's possible, bro. I think
yeah, that's what I'm
even if
saying.
things spit out into folklore. So what
Yeah,
what was chronicled by people like the Grimm brothers,
mm,
like is they didn't write those things. They didn't. They might have renamed it Rumpelstiltskin or this, that, and the other, but they didn't write those things, right?
mm,
And there's ancient stories of like a Rumpelstiltskin character. You know
yeah,
what I mean? That oh, there's like stories of little people making things like in the Grimm stories, it's elves helping the shoemaker in it.
yeah.
Whereas, you know what I mean? Um, just gonna sneeze.
No
Chacha,
problem. Yeah, man.
give thanks, bro.
Yes.
So, like for me, right? Um, this physical reality, what we see as society or the world or earth, for me, um, there's a higher realm on top of a higher realm on top of
Mm,
a higher realm, more higher than that, like
yeah.
layers and layers, like a staircase. And you talk about Jacob's ladder. These things are like metaphors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just for the human DNA, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But like, and the human DNA is cosmological. We're stardust, you know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
And our ancestors knew that. The Zulu translates as people of the sky. The Dogon, when the French and other people come and said, "How do you know these things?" There's one guy, I forget his name. He wrote a book called The Pale Fox. He spent about 6 years with the Dogon, a French guy from the 50s, and he couldn't believe the amount of astronomical information they had. And some of
Yeah.
the astronomical information they had, NASA hadn't even discovered yet. He
Yeah.
said to them, "How do you know this? How do you know this?" He said, "You know what they said to him? Because we are from there,
Yeah.
the Dogon and Dogstar, Sirius A and
Yeah.
B. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
And then,
believe they're from there, you know.
mm,
In the Bible, there's a quote, alleged Jesus, my father's kingdom is not of this world. You know what I mean? So there are other worlds, and there's many other worlds, not just planetarial objects, but different realms, different dimensions. This is the reality. You know what I mean? And when we learn to see not just with our eyes, you know what I mean? Because we can see it with our gut, we can
mm,
see it with the hairs that stand up on our arms, on our backs. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just about being in tune, intuitive to these things. You know what I mean?
It's
And I,
almost
I can
like,
see as I'm getting
mm,
older, I'm definitely becoming more in tune with it.
it's like excitement, you know what I mean? Say you've got real excitement. It's like almost like you feel the electricity running through you. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And
You,
it can
you,
make
you,
you,
you feel like
um,
a battery in it, a battery
yeah.
getting charged up.
So if you look at some of these deities, like example Shango or Gon or Shun, they all
Mhm.
carry a certain characteristic. So you're gonna embody that deity. You're gonna become that. So you could be like, look at like it's an ego thing over the it's an ego. Well, over there, if you got to call on Shango because you want the courage to change yourself. So if you want the courage to change yourself because something you have a fear there, or there's something that you must overcome, something
Yes.
overcome a battle, whatever it is, you call on this deity, and you've got to become that deity. You have that connection with this deity, or you
Uh-huh.
might choose another deity. And then sometimes when you meet these shamans or these certain voodoo priests or whatever, they might give you the name what they feel,
Hmm.
So it's a deep, it's really deep. But unfortunately now, like with people like the Dogon, they're having issues where they live, from whether you've got rebels, jihad type of thing,
Yes, yes.
then you've got like the government obviously doing their thing, and ain't no one really looking after the Dogon, you know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, bro.
I've seen this with the Maasai tribes when in Kenya when they're telling me that the land was once vast where they could hunt. Now it's restricted areas.
Yeah,
They
because
can't live the
parts of
same.
their land, Maasai land, goes into Tanzania too.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I
and
met
they've
them there
cut
as well.
they've
Yeah,
split the nation off by
mm,
putting by coming with the man-made border. So you've got Maasai's in Tanzania and
yeah,
Maasai's in Kenya.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Madness it is. And so with people now, because the more focused on, you look at the numbers, the percentage of people who are religious in parts of Africa, say, there's massive numbers, Christianity and Islam, and even
Hmm.
probably Hinduism creeping in because you've got Indians in different
Yeah,
parts
yeah.
now, innit? So then you look at like, well, where's the room for this spirituality, these ancient traditions to preserve themselves? And if the government's not caring, he's thinking about like building like so.
No, I want to let you into this
Mm,
thing, right? So like we based in Rwanda, right? So we
mm,
set up our own business.
yeah,
So we were like, trading in a bit of coffee, doing IT with investors, having like a shared space, where we had our own office and
yeah,
we were like renting out desk space and also other office space, right?
oh yeah,
COVID kind of was a bit of a obstacle, but we got over that still, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, and like we chose the name Queen Nyabingi, Nyabingi is even synonymous with Rastafari because
Yeah.
a lot of the older Rastafari in the Caribbean, right, look towards obviously, the African king Haile Selassie Rastafari,
Yeah.
but they also recognized Queen Nyabingi, which was anything around because the Nyabingi as well was like a title that was given to many for many queens,
Mm,
around a particular time, almost like the Black Panther
mm,
or the Lion of Judah. There were many lines of Judas, you know what I mean? In
yeah.
the comics, many Black Panthers. It was passed through the patriarchal line, not the
Mm,
matriarchal, right?
yeah.
Um, and like a lot of the people when we were registering it, they were like, "Oh, they didn't like the name," and we said, "What's this name is a great name. If you know how many people this name helped to open their eyes and put them on Liberation Road in the diaspora, you'll be shocked." So, you know what I mean? It's
Mm,
what they've been taught, bro, and they don't know any better. And
yeah.
like, there's nothing for a lot of them alternatives to research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the way it works. That's what colonialization is.
Mm,
It's control of your mind, control of your body, where you can go, what you can do. You know what I mean? And they don't want us to be open minded. Walter Rodney taught us in his book how they underdeveloped Africa. You know what I mean? That's one of the greatest books I've ever read, but there's many great books I've read. And
yeah.
he says they can't afford for Africa to rise up and control its own destiny because it will impoverish them, especially France. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, then you think that they say new becomes old, but that is the term of the West.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we would express that differently. Like example, if the ancestors came with the concept first, and we live by traditions and we pass it on. That's the original way, and then it doesn't through that oral history, it doesn't get lost. I mean, books can get lost if you think like, well, I'm going to write it down. A book can get lost.
Yeah,
So I mean,
burnt. That's why people were burning libraries, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, in the
Mm-hmm.
Yoruba Empire, they had they had written scripts and all that, but they also abandoned it because they said it's an
Mm-hmm.
excuse for people not to remember something. Now
That's right, bro.
it's now really deep because people just look and think, well, I'll write this down here. How many things have you lost that you've written down as well?
Yeah, yeah. Serious, bro.
You know,
You
it's
know, you
hmm?
know, like like we said before, Kemet was like the hub, and a
Yeah,
lot of the ideals that were in Kemet were coming from other parts of Africa and even
yeah,
even India,
yeah,
even Mesopotamia, bro, because
mm,
like we were out there as well. We're
yeah,
talking about the world several thousand years ago was completely different,
yeah,
You know what I mean? And like it was cosmological law. So when we see like Mat or the laws of Ma'at, some people say, oh, Ma'at was a goddess. Well, if you're into that, you could say that, but really it was just a female aspect of knowledge, wisdom,
yeah,
vision, you know what I
mm,
mean? Light, that's
yeah.
all. You know what I mean,
That's
bro? And I
that's
just
it.
want to read because there's a lot of them. I'm not going to read all of them. I think this because potentially the inspiration for the Ten Commandments. And I'm going to read about 10 of them sporadically. There's about
Mm,
42, right? And it's not saying thou shalt not, it's saying I have not
yeah.
or I
So
shall not. That's how it can be translated from the
yeah,
original, you know what I mean? The
exactly.
original script, right?
Yeah,
So, all right, so we'll just come up now. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not swindled offerings. I have not told lies, right? I have not made anyone cry. I have not closed my ears to the truth. I have not been deceitful. I have not stolen anyone's land. I have not disobeyed the law. I have not terrorized anyone. I have not shut my ears to the words of truth. I have not stolen from or disrespected the deceased, right? Now, I have not taken food from a child. Remember that big saying? It's like stealing candy from a baby. That's how easy it
Yeah,
was. I have not stolen food from a child. Now, like if these are things that we should say to ourselves at least once a week, just to keep us on that straight path. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
You know what's
Yeah.
interesting about that as well?
Hmm.
Some people might look at that and say they were religious because they're doing something each day. Well, I totally
Hmm.
disagree. Totally
Hmm.
disagree. They're principles
These are principles to live by, bro.
to live by.
Yeah,
It's
man.
so
Most
what
definitely.
people like to place things into religion because look, you're doing that daily. Well, you eat daily.
This is a
You know what I mean?
discipline, innit?
Yeah,
See, religion, right? Religion is this to me, right? And I love people who are religious. I got nothing against religions, you know. It's how the people carry themselves
it's the people. Yeah,
in the religion they're
that's
saying
right.
they represent, right? So you can have one person that really tries the best, bro. If they believe in something, whether we agree with it or what, is neither here or there. Because if it's
Yeah,
that person's faith, then that person needs that faith. They're not going to let go, right? And if they're good people, then that's a good thing. It only comes into when people bring it into disrepute, in it, like
yeah,
with a whoring lifestyle and living like, you know what I mean? You're a thief, you're deceitful, you
yeah,
know what I mean, bro? I mean,
mm,
there was one, for example, there was one footballer, he used to
yeah,
play for Charlton Athletic. His name was Richard Rufus. He was a good defender. He got injured a couple of times and he had to retire when he was 29.
yeah,
And he got into the church, and a lot of the church he was dealing with was like the black church,
yeah,
Yeah, 'cause black people do church in a style and fashion, You know what I
mm,
mean?
yeah.
Speak in tongues and have fits and all that, and it's ram as well. It ain't empty, Or it's the spaces that we use, people attend, right? Now he got into this, and he was like swindling people out of money, saying it like an investment. Because unfortunately, not all, but a lot of these people um, can be exploited, bro,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
if because people have to be encouraged to seek the kingdom within. You
mm,
don't seek it through me.
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't seek it through him. Seek the kingdom within, because you don't. It's good for you to look up to people, admire people, respect people, but don't put yourself in a position where you're hanging on to every word. It doesn't go
yeah,
like that, bro. You have to find your own words and hang on them. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? And
yeah,
review them words. And if you need to change them words, you change them, because it's not good for a man of 50 to still talk and have the same expressions when he was 20. What's
yeah.
he been doing for the last 30 years? You know what I mean?
But those
Yeah,
principles, though, they should be taught daily, though. In whether it was in school, it needs to be
absolutely,
taught
bro.
in
Absolutely.
whatever, even before you
Because
eat
we
your dinner,
call it what we
anything,
want, in it.
you know.
You can say it's religious, spiritual,
Yeah,
psychological, right? But when you look upon it, yeah,
mm,
it's like it doesn't matter what religion you are,
yeah,
or if you're not religious, if you're agnostic or atheist, apply yourself to some of that, and you're gone clear. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But I would never throw things away because I thought, oh, it's of this, because I know everything has influenced everything. You
Everything.
understand me, brother?
Looking like you were saying before about the connection with like Egypt, Mesopotamia, the rest of
Mm-hmm.
Africa. And then you look at like references, not just through our historians like Diop, who was like come with some of this early information on connecting what they call Kush.
Yes.
And like I'm not a Bible reader, but I know you've read the Bible. Something
They
about
say Cush was the son of Cam, and,
something
Cam
Nimrod,
is Camet in it.
something about Nimrod, the mighty hunter,
Yeah, yeah.
came from Kush,
Nimrod and all that
and he
is in
conquered
there.
Sumer, or I think it was Sumer. Yes, the Sumerians. He's supposed to have conquered Sumeria because Sumeria,
Uh-huh.
them three places that are in Iraq. Like we have Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and we have Babylon, all in
Yeah.
Iraq. All what is in Iraq, but the oldest one is Sumeria. Example. Then it was Mesopotamia, then Babylon. So with the oldest one, Samaria, they rounded off like rounded 4000 BC.
Hmm.
So Egypt and all these places and Kush, they're much more older. Now, because of the writing, the unicorn writing in Samaria is older than in Kemet. Now, that's what they say. I don't
I
know.
don't think it. Well, the schools of thought that say
Yeah,
it is, and schools of thought that say it isn't.
yeah, yeah,
Because if you look at the cuneiform is. I'm not saying it's crude or not. It's just dashes on, isn't it? It's like a binary system, dashes.
yeah.
If you look at like
And it's a
the
short
writing system,
chronology. You have the short
yeah.
chronology.
If you look at the writing system of the hieroglyphics looks richer. You know what I mean? And when
Yeah,
you look at even like in the European letters, the way they've evolved, a lot of them have come from the hieroglyphics.
yeah,
Like a river become W. You know what I mean? Like a reed became F.
yeah.
A pyramid became A. You know what I mean, brother? So there's
I,
lots of,
I
yeah,
think
when you look at it,
you know what it
what we
is as
have to
well.
do, we have to learn to see things, not just with our eyes. We have to
Yeah,
feel things, you know what I mean?
the
Yeah.
geography as well, very important. Where example, Renaud Rashidi said to me one. Well, he mentioned that he doesn't believe that in ancient times Africans viewed Africa or the rest of the world in terms of continents. So, example, if you look at what we call Africa, let's go north. So when you come to Egypt, what's after there? Really, we're coming to Palestine and what they call Palestine and ancient. I'm going to call it Canaan because I'm going to go to the older name,
Yeah.
Canaan land and stuff. So if you go back to there was no borders or nothing. You could just go back and forth. That's like the doorway into Africa,
Yes.
and it is geographically Africa. And I don't, like I say, I don't want to play in the terms of continents and all that. I just want to play in terms of if there's a natural border, and with that because nature decided that, not man. You know what I'm saying?
I think the natural borders, in it, are mountain ranges and massive lakes or rivers or seas, isn't it?
If you want to stretch an
Oceans.
empire out,
Yeah.
Africans example, for them to stretch their empire out to Samaria example, and then later India and the rest of different
Well,
parts of the world. You
the
know what I'm
original
saying?
people of Sumer were described as little black-headed people,
Exactly.
and they weren't referring to the hair; they're
Yeah,
referring to everything. They were
yeah,
dark-skinned people. The
yeah,
original people everywhere were dark-skinned people. If you go to Asia, like you've seen them.
yeah.
You can see the features. You
Well,
can see, if anything, a lot of them look mixed
yeah.
as well, isn't it? I
Well,
mean, that's even where the
use
word,
words like you see the most ancient black folks we seem to find, and if we look at it from around the world, they seem to be all short, diminutive black folks. So those people who were called the black-headed people in Samaria, the shown Diop say
yeah,
these are the Negrito type and they are indigenous
yeah,
to this Samaria. So
hmm,
this is before other ways of Africans are coming in now.
absolutely,
So that's what he's
yeah,
talking about. So
exactly,
now,
bro.
so these people now, if I look at the going east into Asia, who have people have encountered, they wouldn't be any much different, these small, tiny black folks,
Hmm.
to the ones who would have been in so-called Western Asia.
I think as well,
You know what I
there's
mean?
like there's little short types, right? With round faces, and you've got like the long, slim types with
Yeah,
long
yeah,
faces, isn't it? You know what I mean? And like they were traversed the land, the world, and they would have been mixing with some other people, other wild
yeah,
tribes in certain
yeah,
places. You know what I mean? You
yeah.
definitely saw that in Egypt in the
Mm,
original dynasties too, like the mixing. You mentioned the Hyksos before. Uh,
yeah,
they were took over. They were repelled. Um, um, some people believe it correlates in history with the so-called Hebrews. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Also, there's the Nubia. in Sudan,
mm,
Nubia, you know what I mean? And Ethiopia. Ethiopia is like, a massive, covers a lot, even like Ethiopia to especially people who lived in other lands. They saw Ethiopia as the continent and
yeah, that's
going
right.
right
Yeah,
across
yeah,
Palestine, like you said earlier, going
yeah,
across the Levant, going
mm,
all the way to as far as India and Southeast Asia. And then when you go
mm,
to these places, who were the original people? They were black. The original, the oldest statues of Buddha are of portrayed of black people
yeah,
with cornrow hair. You know what I mean? And there's even like the Anu. I don't know whether they called themselves the Anu. Probably didn't. This
yeah,
is the name
yeah,
that's been given. Now,
yeah,
some people, like Zechariah Sitchin, talk about the Anunnaki, talking about people, another species coming from Nibiru, the 12th planet. But the
yeah,
Anunnaki just means the children of the Anu. That's where the term ancestors comes from.
yeah,
And the Anu have gone all over the world really as the shorter type of man, round face and that, you know what I mean, bro?
yeah,
Of the original black man, went around the world. And in Japan, the original people, it was like maybe before the modern Japan that we know
mm,
today. But there's older groups of people who still live in Japan, don't look traditionally Japanese as we would know it. They look like they're from the hood in Chicago, bro. You know what I mean? They're called the Ainu,
yeah.
not the Anu, the
Yeah,
Ainu.
I knew, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
As
well,
you know,
well, there's
right?
that's
And this is
interesting. The
this is
linguistic
it's the
side of
same thing
things.
that goes right across Southeast
Yeah,
Asia. The
yeah,
black
yeah,
Filipinos.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You know these things, James.
Exactly. Yeah, but this is very important where it's like it's just studying the history, and this is like this. Even white history is going to come to the same conclusions if they research it, if they're presenting it honestly. So they'll find it was a black world at one time, not just only in Africa, around the whole planet, digging up skeletal remains. The saying that the more they dig, the blacker it gets. That's factual. And then when they come with the new information that, like, well, no, the so-called Caucasian only evolved 6,000 years ago, and it was some say the Caucasus Mountains, some say they are originally from Africa, just like us. The scientific side, they were trapped behind the 51st parallel ice age, some like a prison behind there,
Mhm.
and stretched from England or something where it
The
cuts England.
original,
And
that
yeah,
must have been the original chill out.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
to be honest, if anyone could find out what was going on behind that ice wall for whatever thousands of years before that, I would love to know that story, like, because that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know understand how you can survive that. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But what it
Mm-hmm.
is
But
African people
animal
can adapt.
skins are the warmest things to
Adapt.
wear.
True. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of them people would have had animal clothes, bro.
Mm.
With the animal skin clothes,
Yeah.
really
And did
warm.
and did people have hair on the back and stuff like that back then? But that crossed into Neanderthals and all this talk now. So that's like where um you adapt to the environment, isn't it? Nature
You
knows
adapt,
that.
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
definitely.
So it's so I believe there's
And
truth to
so
things and there's a
therefore,
lot of
when you
lies.
think about it, right, some of these changes could be in a few generations. Some could
Mm,
be over thousands, or hundreds of thousands of years. But like, for example, if there's a climate change, the next generations may become a little bit more airy. If you
true.
find yourself in a colder, slightly cooler, they might get a bit more airs to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it can happen in only a few generations. I'm not talking about wild things that these guys say. They'll say anything other than admit that life began in Africa and the first hominoids
Mm,
sprang out of Africa. So they'll talk about, like, say, they'll even go as far as to say aliens built the pyramid, The
Mm.
Anunnaki is like from Nibiru, the 12th planet, Planet X, and all that, rather than tell the story. Because white supremacy, if that's why the libraries were burnt and lots of truths were taken and stolen and hidden under the catacombs of the Vatican, you know what I mean? Because they know that the whole white supremacy thing is a byproduct of colonialism. There was no elements of race. People understood different cultures. But in terms of race, that race element was created by the racist for financial gain, for land control, economics, and freezing out people and marginalizing people, bro, and having control
Well,
over the planet and its resources.
funny enough, you mentioned about the alien theory, what they've came with, yeah. Now, what that is, yeah, if you look at it just from a physical point of view, it's so easy to understand that way. So, with the physical point of view, the way we are fed with the ETs and all that, and Hollywood and this and that. So, what we're led to believe, if we look at it from the Western perspective, is all these planets that are out there. Yeah, I can believe there's life forces and all that, yeah, but they don't have to be life forces in physical form.
Yeah. Humanoid. You know,
Yeah.
they could be gaseous. They could
So
even be elements that we can't even pick up.
So if we look at it now from a spiritual perspective, then they don't have to be sitting on these planets that we call Mars, this and that. They can come from absolutely anywhere,
Absolutely, bro.
up,
You
down,
know,
left,
like water, you
below,
know,
or
like the
whatever. Yeah,
elements is life as well, in it, you know,
yeah,
because
come from the waters, the trees.
without those elements, there can't be no life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
water is alive, bro. Water is a living entity.
So if you
Water
get
has a spirit of its own.
yeah, so if you get
You know what I
where I'm
mean?
coming from, they're trying to play us into this physical form like the five senses, and then when they speak on like the aliens coming down, they have to be the physical beings coming from where we can point to,
Well,
where we
if aliens did come down, Dread, we must have been the aliens and we seeded the planet.
exactly, exactly,
Whatever way they want it, you know, we've got it covered, bro. You know what I mean?
exactly. And like you
Because
mentioned about the
we,
water, then my
mhm,
tribe deep under the
yes,
water, all
that's right. That's
you
right,
know,
bro.
very deep. It is. You can go anywhere, the Amazon rainforest to anywhere in the world. They all got these stories.
It's the same stories because the same people went there with them, bro. This is what I'm saying.
And not
The Anu,
everybody. And you see, like some people describe these type of beings, yeah. Only certain people who are in high positions of that spirituality can see these beings. Because sometimes people are looking like the average Egyptian was like looking at these beings like you had to be initiated or you had to be in some sort of you had to be considered as divine and because we're going back to ancient times where we know that a lot of these Egyptian leaders, they kind of looked at themselves like God after time. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Until people started rebelling and God's over there.
and the Reformation, the Great Reformer,
Yeah,
Akhenaten, and all that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
well, this story is interesting
And
because
then,
it's
and then what happened is
totally
they went
different.
back to after about 100 years, and then they obliterated him out of history, didn't they?
Yeah. You
All attempts were made.
consider them as a traitor. But if we look at what the time period that can happen is, this is coming after the Hyksos. So because
That's
it
right.
came after
So,
that,
so
now
it's
you
like
have that
that
new type
propaganda.
of the new thing
Yeah,
coming now. And when you start letting other people come in, make decisions where you're there, that's when you're influenced by them rather than the other way around. But
exactly.
yeah, Akhenaten basically included people come in, like that, where the Nubian
I mean,
concept
mass
is strong.
immigration, bro.
Yeah, that's what
You know
the
what I mean? You know
so
that one.
and
Come
it
in, come on, oh, come on.
that's
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
And then next thing you're getting overrun. You know what I'm saying? Then the Book of the
yeah,
Dead comes out after Akhenaten.
yeah.
There's roundabout. Right,
Well,
yeah,
that's where those some of those statements are read out.
yeah,
Look like commandments, but it wasn't thou shalt not. It was I.
yeah.
I have not, I shall not. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is very important because that implies the awareness is with the person who is making the pledge. So it's not like because you can say to little children, "Don't do that. Thou shalt not do that." As soon as you're gone, they do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's confusing a minute.
But if but if the little kid says, "I won't do that, Daddy. Don't worry. I won't do that, Mummy," and they don't do it, that's a great thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Now, that's what I'm saying, bro. In terms of consciousness, it's a different level of consciousness to be told constantly not to do things. And it's a different level of consciousness for you to tell yourself, I
Yeah.
won't do that. I haven't done that.
Yeah. That
You
thou
know what I
shall not
mean?
kill doesn't even make no sense, man.
Yeah, I
Thou.
mean,
Silly words, man. You know what I'm
for
saying?
real, bro. For
But
real.
yeah, man. Brilliant discussion this though, especially,
No, it is as
consciousness and
always.
this and that.
It's always good because we've done two the hard way today.
Yeah. Yeah,
Respect,
Raz.
brother.
Yeah,
Just to
man.
recap, right? So spirituality, comes from the dawning of civilization, 'cause
Yeah.
we must have awareness of self and environment
Yeah.
even before even before we do the first agriculture, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? 'Cause we come
Before all
from,
that.
the evidence is there, hunter and gatherers. We had that ability to do that because we would have been in massive families, tribes, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
hunting and gathering. You know what I mean? It might have been favorable, but as things change and the population grows, it
Yeah.
may be unsustainable. And that's why most cities began on the coastlines. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Close to rivers. Water was the source. You being a
Yeah.
water person
Yeah.
knows the power of that. So we'll see in Africa and right across the world. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Knowledge runs
Yeah.
down the river. You know what I mean? From the
Niger
source.
River, all these major rivers, Nile River.
Yeah.
And there was
The
more
first
rivers.
civilizations,
Yeah.
right? Nile, Tigris, Euphrates. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
Congo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Great
interesting.
rivers, Zambezi.
Yeah.
Great rivers that are all connected.
Lake
Because those
Victoria.
those rivers are like they go underground as well. Those
Mm.
rivers are like the veins on the human body, on Mother Earth. You
Well,
know what I mean?
you know the river in the Congo. Is it? I think it's the Congo rainforest.
Mm,
I think it's the Congo rainforest. But anyway, the river there, yeah, is supposed to be the deepest river in Africa. The deepest river, not the
yeah,
longest. We know the Nile's the longest,
yeah, yeah,
but it's supposed to be the deepest river.
yeah, man. I look into that. I've
Mm,
got no direct data on that, but I
mm,
know the Congo has 1/6 of the Earth's fresh water.
yeah,
I have the lake as well.
mm,
Lake is there. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like
Lots of fresh
even
water.
in Egypt where you see a lot of animals that are there are not indigenous to there that you see like example where you see giant snakes example these biggest snakes supposedly in Africa are in the Congo. So assume I don't know if they're called pythons, whatever they're called, the big
Big
snakes,
super pythons, like
super
yeah, yeah. They
pythons that
could
we're
eat a
talking.
child, innit?
Yeah,
You have them in
where
South Africa as well,
in South
right
Africa,
across.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And some of them, I don't know, you got rock pythons, you got all these different types, but
Yeah.
whoever was talking about these pythons, anyway, they were not indigenous to Kemet, basically. So then the baboons not indigenous to Kemet. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of so there had to be a lot of movement back and forth.
It was, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it was the animals with the people, we were all one. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
No, there's always see movement. It's all about movement, bro.
yeah,
And like what it is, look at the Amazon. Like maybe the Amazon may have even been planted by the original peoples there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Underneath that was like lots of the temples, like monumental stone temples, bro, pyramids and everything. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and cultures that existed before the Aztecs, before the Incas. You know what I mean?
Olmecs
And when you
and
look,
yeah,
yeah, and when you look on their art, even like Olmec in Mexico, the Olmec, the heads,
mm,
and you look at the artwork in these temples. You know what I mean? You're looking at
mm.
like dark skinned people and lighter skinned people, but darker shades of there, bro. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah. And they
mm,
saw a lot of their deities. They portrayed them as black.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Deities or aspects of the divine. You know what I mean?
And
We don't
it,
want to get caught up in them thing there.
you know what it is as well is because we everything the whitewash, what we spoke about many times. We have to look and think, well, what was African's relationship with the Chinese before European interaction? What was African's relationship with India before European interaction? What was their relationship with Arabs? Where you got like Ethiopia, where they had Aksum,
I
and
think the
you
original
know,
Arabs were black, African, bro.
well, the funny thing
You know what I
is
mean?
that Red Sea is like the more we go back, the Red Sea was less. You know what I'm saying?
Like the Punt, like
Yeah,
like the Empire of Punt,
yeah,
where it's on one side in like modern day Somalia and
yeah.
on the other side of the Red Sea, Yemen and all those places.
And there's
You
a
know what I mean?
similar
And those
bloodline.
people on that side look just like Somalian Ethiopian people.
Yeah,
Not all of them, but like
yeah.
there's original people there
The
that look like
original.
I'm telling you, bro.
Because you know what it is, no one's teaching really about the proper history of Arabia, example. So the times when like, yeah, the people do teach it, but you'd have to really, I think you'd have to go out there really and really try to establish it on. I mean, like for example, Persians one time were dominant, and one time when the Ethiopians were strong and they were out in Arabia, and they did have a similar. I don't know if you call you'd have different names. You have the Sabian, you have the Habesha, you have there's all these different names anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there was something that was similar because remember, we talk about languages, yeah. We want to talk about Arabic, you want to talk about Hebrew, you want to talk about Aramaic. These are all
They all belong to Afro-Asiatic
exactly,
languages. That's what they call them.
and
You
it's
know that,
so
right?
Ethiopia, Eritrea,
Yeah, yeah,
these
yeah.
places, right? So we know that it's coming out of there. So what I always try and do is I'm into comparative studies, and I know you are yourself. You're not limited to one thing. So you're looking at like from perspective of the language, and you're looking at the origin, which is Ethiopia. You're looking at also the rivers, the Nile River, which is like is going to obviously lead from one part of Uganda, the Blue Nile, the White Nile, and all
Yeah,
these other connected.
Ethiopia, yeah,
So it's all
Sudan,
one connection. Even
Uganda.
push it into Congo, even if you want to, with
Yeah,
their rivers and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
So, so now when you look at the movements outside of Africa, or what we call Africa, they're saying that the people of Sumer, or well, don't know, it's quite the Sumerians actually. I think they had their own, but they I don't know, but there was a connection anyway within that area that they smoked Semitic anyway at a certain period of time.
Yeah.
All them places anyway. So as we come to Arabic now, Arabic is basically a surviving language that's African, but
Yeah.
it might have changed. Obviously, it changed certain
Slightly
forms.
variant, slightly
Yeah.
variant. But
So
yeah, I agree. I
it's
agree.
interesting because
And people like
mm,
Rashidi, right? Ronoko, yeah?
mm,
Was it Ronoko Rashidi?
that's right.
Am I
Yeah.
saying it in the wrong order?
Renault
Well,
Rashidi. Yeah.
okay, he was like bang on studying them languages, and
Yeah.
him and a lot of other scholars, they refer to them as the Afro-Asiatic language.
Yeah.
Um,
But the African language,
of course they are,
someone
because
from the Asian, someone
what they're
from the
saying
Asian,
is
and
that
yeah,
language
yeah,
has gone through to those places
yeah,
with the people who spoke that language. You know
mm,
what I mean, bro? And
exactly,
they've established it. You know what I mean? Because remember, the Greeks would call the Indians, Eastern Ethiopians,
yeah,
and like at that time the Aryan invasions weren't as thick.
yeah,
So with every Aryan invasion, it become more and more. You know what I mean? Mixed, and a lot
mm,
of the original peoples were relegated to the untouchable Dalit status. You know what I mean?
exactly,
And like you say, the
yeah,
Persians.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah, but like the original peoples were there everywhere, as far as Australia, bro, as far as
Mm,
Borneo, as far as Java, all those
yeah.
places.
It's funny though,
Tahiti.
now the spiritual aspect of a lot of these conquerors now. There's empires, but then there's just conquerors. You know what I mean? When I say the conquerors, I'm talking about when you have people like the Scythians, people like Huns, people, Khazarians type of peoples, people who were there, nomadics, where they traveled from the steppes, from places, whether it was from Hungary to Mongolia,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of the times they're going in and they're intermingling with whoever's indigenous in those lands and conquering them and oppressing them. And it's funny because that's a vast land. If you look up from Mongolia to, like, say, Hungary and these places, these are vast lands and territory. If you've got that,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so no
And
wonder they were
it's
able
true.
to conquer a lot of places
But
and
you know what,
stuff.
James?
You know
When
what
we
I mean?
see a lot of these empires seem to collapse in on themselves,
Yeah,
really, the ones who are running it just set up shop somewhere else.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
like, honestly, so like, what basically what we see is like, if you look at like the French Empire, the
yeah.
British Empire in particular,
Mm,
right? And that was the same program as it was under Rome.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And like when you think of like such a small island
yeah,
controlling so much of the world one time,
yeah,
how was that achieved? That's another discussion for
yeah.
another podcast, because we
It
are
is.
drawing to a close. But how was that achieved? Yeah, like
Mm,
it wasn't all military. It was some of it was psychological, some of it was theocratical. It was how to subdue. You know what I mean? How to
yeah,
oppress. Where you know what I mean? It was a very deep thing what they did. Right, beginning with the conquistadors, again under the papal bull
yeah,
to you know what I mean?
yeah.
Take the gold, go to El Dorado and get the gold,
Mm,
go to El Dorado and get the dough.
yeah.
You know what I mean, bro?
No, it is deep. And then, even like we are saying, after death, there's no death. Death don't exist. And, like you were saying before, we can go to different forms. Doesn't matter where you go when you're gone, where your spirit go, your soul goes,
It's just like
whatever.
water in it. Look at the
You know what
water
I'm
behind
saying?
you. Look at the water behind you, and look at the
Mm,
wind in the tree.
yeah,
The tree, the wind is blowing the tree. The tree is
exactly.
moving in
Mm,
some synchronicity with the wind.
yeah,
The water seems like it's dancing. This is life. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like, when the going into science now and looking at evaporation,
Mm,
condensation, rainfall. You know what I mean? You see that cup you're drinking, right? If it was water and you spilled some, it would evaporate, wouldn't it?
yeah,
But we wouldn't say, when you come back to it the next day, you wouldn't say, oh, the water's dead. You just say the water's evaporated, isn't it?
yeah,
But it's not dead. It's in a cycle.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And what goes up must come down.
Mm.
And what goes around must come around. You know?
Totally, man, totally. But
And this is
yeah,
the African traditional way. This is the traditional way of all
mm.
the ancient peoples,
And
because
Africans don't
the
actually,
cornerstone
yeah,
was set by the original peoples, and those
yeah.
who came later. You know what
And
I
if there
mean?
is a beginning, I mean, like, Africans don't really see a timeline of a beginning. So they don't say, like the other people say, this is 1,000 years old, or this is like 5,000 by carbon dating and doing this and this method and all that. But like Africans, they're the different, like, they would actually be more accurate in certain ways. Like, say, an African looked at a skull, and way before all this anthropological studies and all that, he could examine a skull and kind of analyze if this is a skull that's been around within the last, I don't know, could be 50 to 100 years or something. There's Africans get onto little things like when I was going on the safari tour in Kenya. and we were hoping to see lions. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see lions or cheetahs. But when we went out at 5 in the morning, he was able to see a footprint of a leopard, and he studied it, and he said it's very fresh. So he's not using any equipment. He's using his
No,
eyes.
no, he just knows. Yeah, he
He
just
knows.
knows. He's
He
got the
knows.
awareness, bro.
So he said
He's
it's
got the
close.
awareness, you know. You know, like
Yeah,
the
you know what I mean?
apparatus.
Yeah.
You know, like he's talking about. He's not using any equipment,
Mm,
like special apparatus.
yeah,
He's the equipment. He's the
exactly.
special apparatus. It's like what we
Mm,
talk about. You know, five senses.
yeah.
We've got 360 senses, bro, and many,
Mm,
many more. We're multidimensional, bro.
yeah.
You know, we're more than just sight, vision, and hearing, and all that. We're like, I tell you, bro, right?
Mm,
So the truth of, and the reality of ourselves as a human being is denied us from the very beginning. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And we're just taught to get ready, what you want to be when you grow up, the occupation, finish school, go to university or college or whatever, get a job, pay your taxes, drop in your box, get the next one on.
And then even things like judgment, like hell. People say you can go to hell and this and that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love
Now,
that one. I love
and
that one.
you
You
know
don't
what?
need, listen, you know
Egyptians
what?
have the story of like something about something on the afterlife, but it was a bit more different. It wasn't quite the
It
same.
was about being like sailing on a boat to a place called, what was it? Demet or so,
Yeah,
something like Demet or something like that. It will come to me. But it was like sailing on a boat across the water again, the water, you
mm,
know what I mean, to the afterlife. And interestingly, the mummification process was called Lazarus.
yeah,
The mummy, they didn't call it a mummy. They said it was a Lazarus. And
mm,
the symbolic reawakening in the afterlife, the Lazarus became the Karast,
yeah,
with the term Christos, anointed, or
mm,
Christ comes from, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah. No, I love the reasoning, bro. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm not stepping on anyone's feet. I'm just rocking to the beat.
Well,
You
that's
see it?
why I invited you because you got an open mind and you're not coming on just on only one way street. You know what I mean?
Everything's
You're
open,
open
bro.
to different discussion because an important thing just before we go as well
Yeah.
is the evolution discussion,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you've got the spirit world discussion. Now you can put
Yes,
religion in
I.
there if you want to,
Yes, I.
whatever, or put
Yes,
it in the
I.
middle. Could it be possible that all these three things could all be true?
Yeah, because like, listen, it's how we see things in the moment, you know. Remember before we were talking about
Yeah,
evolution, and all right, we're not getting too carried away with Darwinism and all that. We're not going
yeah,
down
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. Not
rabbit hole.
going.
But we're
Yeah,
just saying there is changes in people, and sometimes adapting to the environment. These changes, right, could be subtle. They could be over a few generations, or they could be quite wild. For example, like, look at it this way: in a place like Liverpool, right, or Northwest, there's many cases in it where you have an African or a man from the Caribbean, and like he'll have kids with a white woman.
hmm,
Their kids will have kids with a white woman. Their kids will have kids with a white woman. We're not against that. We're just observing nature. We're just watching life. So the end product now is somebody who's changed vastly from a couple of generations ago
yeah.
in a Montserrat or in a Guyana or in a jam down. You know, see it. So
Yeah.
now this the whole script flip. You know,
Mm.
understand, bro?
Serious,
So
man.
so we can we have to accept um, various adaptations through various means and
Mm.
timelines and that. You know what I mean, bro? And be aware.
Because, I mean, the physical and the spiritual, for example, the ingredients of this planet is all within us in some sort of way. And even if it's not like actually in us, it reaches us in some sort of way. Light, gas. We got water in us. You know,
Yeah, man, we're stars. That's why. That's why.
so on a physical point, we are a lot of this ingredients. So when they
That's why they
talk
call the
about,
male child the sun.
yeah, so say like evolution, where they're talking about you with this some sort of little thing in the water and stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah,
bacteria or something, and then
yeah,
eventually coming out and then it's becoming something else. Now it's hard for me to understand all of that because it's okay. Let's say you do believe that, yeah, right. And by the way, I'm trying to say this clearly. When they say humans come from apes, what they're actually saying is the common ancestor. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? So whatever the common ancestor is, do are we actually getting that? You know, when people reconstruct and do all this, I can't. It's hard for me to believe it, but I'm willing to talk about it. That's basically where I'm going with
yeah. No, well, I'm saying this,
it.
bro. I'm saying this. I've always thought that's a load of poppycock.
Mm.
It
To
would
go
be
from
better for
lizards
them
to
to say.
this and
It
that,
would be
and
better for them to say we're all
mm,
part of one big universal ecosystem,
yeah,
and it's just life, and more life, and life is precious, and
yeah,
life is riches. It's better than say that than
yeah,
talk about we started off as a little amoeba, and then we come out as a little fish, and then we walked on a couple of fins for a bit, and
yeah.
then we were on all fours, and then we were
No,
in the
no,
trees, and then we
it's
fell
hard.
out the trees, and then we became bipedal,
I
walking on
can't
two
believe
feet,
that. I can
right?
believe that. Like,
I'm not into that. I'm not into that.
mm,
What I'm
that's too
saying,
much, isn't it? Too much of that.
the,
That's too
the
much.
human being, the human being, right, is, you know, without getting into all created in the image and likeness, because we know that already, that's African tradition. You
Mm,
know what I mean?
yeah,
But like the human being is a great adapter,
mm,
I mean, those that can't adapt will die off, unfortunately.
that's
But
it.
not
Right.
everybody will die off.
Yeah.
And it's been proven time and time and time again.
Mm,
And sometimes, in some cases, a little bit of race mixing has proven to be a tonic for the gene pool. I don't want to sound like a eugenicist here, but in terms of like, for example, um, you look at things like sickle cell, that
yeah.
came about
Mm,
because of like malaria and them type of things there.
yeah.
So it gives a kind of resistance to that, or a less of a what's the word, a risk to it.
Mm,
But there's other consequences over time. You know what I mean? And I think
yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's it's been proven many times. Cause it's not even mixing. I don't even like talking like that because it's like I'm a bartender making a pina colada, and I'm talking about people in Asia.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, look at it this way. It's like different peoples, different cultures have come together en masse or individually, right? And in many ways, it's enhanced the gene pool from certain illnesses and introducing new, you know what I mean, on a scientific level.
Yeah.
This is the reality. And that's why when we go to Spain, or you can see the remnants of the African, and more in particular on the women, the shape of the women and everything. You can
Mm,
see the Moorish uh, on influence on them, bro. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm,
And even the looks of them, they look definitely um, of an Afro mix. The
yeah.
Arab mix is an Afro mix because
Yeah.
that's what the word Semite means.
Yeah.
Some people will say it comes from the story of Noah's three sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth,
Yeah.
and the story of Ham being cursed. Ham
Mm,
is Cam, which is Kemet.
yeah.
You know what I
Black.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cush is
Mm,
the son of Kemet. And
mm,
this is what we're talking about, East Ethiopia, and you have the Hindu Kush Mountains. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So there's lots of connections there, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Lots.
that's it. Don't you know? It's the interconnectedness of the world. I mean, of the universe and beyond, and the
Absolutely,
interconnectedness
brother.
of like if recognizing if one part of the world is suffering, then
Hmm.
the rest of the world is suffering, and that was the inclusive, all
Yeah, man.
inclusive, because it's like here in nature. If you look at it now, you could be in California and you're getting the El Nino. Now over in Australia, on this, it's having some reaction because of what's going on there. They could be having bushfires, example. And I remember watching some of these things, these natural disasters. That was one of my earliest actually things that I was looking into. I used to be fascinated with natural disasters and volcanoes, earthquakes, and this and
Uh,
all different things like that. And when I was looking so deep into those things, understanding how Mother Nature works, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, some things can be man-made, manipulated because of pollution and certain technology they've got. But at the same time, you can't play with nature.
Absolutely, bro. But
Nature is resilient. You know what I mean?
there's levels of it, isn't there? Because
Yeah,
you think about it, right? Even farming is a manipulation.
yeah,
But there's different ways. There's more ways of uh, holistic farming that doesn't damage the soil. Do you know what I mean? And you have this Frankenstein
yeah.
farming, giving you seedless this, seedless that, with nothing in it. Um, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
hunter-gatherers, yeah, before some of them maybe have gone to the farming route. Certain hunter-gatherers and farmers don't really like each other's lifestyle. It's funny because if you look at the hunter-gatherer, he's not trying to corner the market.
no, he's still looking at survival
Yeah,
and giving thanks.
yeah. And I got nothing against farming. Farming is I
No,
think
I know.
brilliant. But it's like, how far is your farm going to expand now?
Yeah, it's just that the
You know what I
hunter
mean?
gatherer is a thing that
And are you going to use
died
your
out.
wealth? Are you going to
It,
use
it,
your wealth for
it,
power as well
no, no,
in some
that's what it
ways?
comes down
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
But the hunter gatherer thing um, died off because the population growth in it.
True.
They
Yeah,
had to
yeah,
do other things, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, you know, corruption and all them things has been around since the dawn of time, innit?
yeah,
You know what I mean? But yeah, I think this, like, the whole spirituality discussion is a deep thing, bro, because like we see ourselves under the African tradition as spiritual beings who are having a human experience.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Not like human beings having a spiritual experience. And we know there's great meaning and purpose in life, and every
yeah,
day is a classroom. And
yeah.
that's how we see it. That's how we've always saw it.
It's
You know
like
what I
when
mean?
someone's it's Africans like who are deep into this. I know the indigenous groups when they were so like confident in their spirituality. They were so confident that you couldn't. They had to come in with 40 Europeans and other conquerors with a sword, with guns, and to literally force people to convert. And
Divide
like you
and
said,
conquer then. Yeah,
and then
divide and conquer then.
I'm finding someone who's going to sell us out. He'll take the 50 pieces of silver or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, you're always going to find that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
then it
man.
could it could be down to one tribe got beef with another tribe, and then he's going to play
Yeah.
the mediator. I'm one of them, the one
Yeah.
that maybe you want to win for your
That's right.
benefit.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
That's right.
Tactical,
But
all
it's
tactics.
we've covered a lot of ground anyway, bro. We have covered a lot of ground today. You know what I mean? And um, like spirituality can mean, or not that it means that might be more of a European mindset. But
Mm,
spirituality will be expressed differently by different people, because there's no competition, is there really?
no,
What you feel is
yeah,
what you feel, and if you share that
yeah,
with people, there's trust and you're confident to share that, and that's a
yeah,
good thing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
mm,
When I deal with doctrine and dogma,
yeah.
you know what I mean, and
I
all of
believe
that.
everyone also has their own individual spirituality as well.
Exactly.
Because this is important where like okay you could grow up in a particular tribe and this and that but they also recognize even though you might be under the same whether you've been initiated they understand that you as an individual also will also have your individual spirituality
They do.
because your purpose being here might be slightly different than your brother's purpose being here.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, brother.
So you can be as tight knit as possible, but there's individuals, you know what I mean? Because you can look at like 20 people walking in a direction. Sometimes people might think, oh, they're all just behaving the same and thinking the same. You know what I'm saying? They're all going to do the same thing, but they're all individuals. But sometimes them individuals come together
Absolutely, bro.
as one.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
but
saying?
for me, I'm growing in my spirituality. Like
Yeah.
my true self. Like I have an idea that there's a true self, and
Mm.
that true self is the spiritual consciousness.
Like a fifth
For me,
dimension.
yes, that's the multidimensional real
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
that spiritual essence. And
You don't need to
as
be
I'm getting older,
convinced. Yeah.
I'm getting closer to it. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it stronger.
And you don't need to be
You know what I mean?
convinced by anything. You know true to yourself. You're getting closer to something,
Hmm.
and it's almost like the answer is becoming clearer to you. And once it becomes that clear, you can't go back on it now because you know that's it. You know
Absolutely,
what I'm
bro.
saying, brother?
Yeah, man.
For
For
real,
real.
man. Spiritual talk. It's not for
And
everyone. You know what I'm
it
saying?
doesn't matter, right? What label you put on it, even if you figure that you're religious,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because I know many religious people who are true spiritual and true representations of their, spiritual, their faith. And like, I know some people bring it into disrepute, brother. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And like the people who live up to that, the ethics of religion, you know what I mean, um, tend to be good people, bro. You know what I mean?
And
They
times are
do.
for
The
you're right
ones that
there.
really live up to it. I
You're
have
right
some
there.
man that
You're
go
right.
church and then in buy pussy. And he
Yeah.
gets his rusty crusty crack pipe out. Or he's buying pussy with his rusty crusty crack
Yeah.
pipe. Right? But he's just being in church, you see. Sometimes it's all the pastor. This is the
Yeah,
reality, bro. All
yeah.
right.
Hypocrites,
And
man.
and so it's how you live in it, really. And like
Mm,
there's many people out there and they're a glowing tribute
yeah,
to their proposed faith. And I support that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
If the
But
truth of it, I don't mind myself.
I as a man like yourself that overstand that really belief is a good thing, but at some point you have to go for the knowledge. And the
True.
knowledge is
Yeah,
when you get the knowledge, that surpasses that particular belief in
yeah,
that particular whatever. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Because then you have a knowledge
Mm,
of it, whether it is so or it isn't.
yeah.
And that's every man have to make that choice, every woman have to make that choice as adults, you know what I mean? And
Totally right, man. Yeah,
and that's just a beautiful thing. That's why when we meet people, we can meet people from all over the world and get along and be accepted and be taken in the inner sanctum with the people
yeah,
and be
yeah.
nice because it's that essence, that feeling, that brotherhood,
Yeah, yeah.
that sisterhood, and that's what gets us through, bro.
You
And
never
that is
forget
the
them
African
things.
tradition. It's the African
Totally.
tradition.
It
You know what I
is.
mean, bro?
It is, man.
So King, I'm gonna call it a day right now, but give thanks for
Brilliant.
everything. You know
Brilliant
what I mean?
discussion, brother. Brilliant discussion,
Brilliant,
man.
always brilliant, man.
And
And we'll
we
have
don't
some.
just. I like to continue this, and maybe do a part two one time.
I'll
To
give
be
you, I'll
honest,
give you, I'll give you 5 more minutes as well. Right? Because like, you
yeah,
know,
man.
do you ever remember a show that you might be young, you might. There used to be a show on TV, right, called Quantum Leap,
Yeah,
and there
yeah,
was a guy in it
yeah,
called Sam Beckett.
yeah. This is
Okay,
American, was it?
American, yeah. And what it was,
Hmm.
um, he was like an AI program guiding him in the shape of a man, right?
Hmm.
And what it was, he kept on having jumping into other people in different timelines. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And sometimes it was like a man, a woman, a kid, an old person. You understand? Quantum leap.
So it's
And
kind of like example. You get Bill and Ted. If you don't, know if you've
yeah,
seen that, and
bogus journey.
yeah, they die and they come into he come back to his
And
father's
they
body.
cheat death. They cheated death.
Yeah, they cheated death, and
It
it's no, that's very interesting because
is. It
an
is. No,
example
because
now.
no, because
If an
that you
entity
might
comes into
you
your
know
body now,
Bill and
yeah,
Ted, right? Bill and Ted.
right,
It was like nineties in it, and it's like far out, dude. And
mm,
like a lot of these things seem idiotic, right?
mm,
But really, when you have the trained eye, you can see these little ancient funeral
yeah,
or funerary rituals, right?
yeah,
And the cheating of death was exactly that, because you could see it as the cheating of death or the conquering of death, which
mm,
is a theme that runs throughout. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And like, even if you reach a certain, even if you live in a particular life, you know what I
mm,
mean, that's not so good, and you
yeah,
reach a point where you decide, I need to change, and you change it, right? Well, that old self that was living the bad life or the wrong life
mm.
becomes deceased, because you're in a new self now that's
It's
living
kind
a
of
higher
like
life.
yeah, yeah, that's deep, isn't it? Like
So it's symbolic, and it could be literal. I got nothing against that. You know
mm.
what I mean? Yeah,
So
man, I'm
basically,
down.
no, that's interesting because some things are just dying. You're old, wake and die. You know what I mean? Some things that used to excite you can be born now. You know,
Yeah,
it's like the death of the old self. You know what I mean? It's like, but
but
then
this is what I'm saying. Like,
be on a
for some
journey.
people, right?
Yeah,
Some people, like, when you look at evolution just doesn't mean body form,
yeah,
or anything like that. Evolution is means change or adapting, right?
yeah,
And it's like you have some people in life that are constantly seeking knowledge or constantly seeking new experiences. You know what I
mm,
mean? You
evolving in that
understand?
way.
New
Yeah,
experience that's based on finding more about the human psyche. You know
yeah,
what I mean? The original, intent of life, purpose, and things, right? Um, and that's basically it, bro. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? It's that thirst for life sets people apart. Do you know what I mean? And it's just
yeah.
about keeping on that, trying to wake people up. As I said, got one brethren, he sells books. He goes to Oxford Street, sometimes Brixton. He's got all those great titles. You know what I mean?
Now,
Yeah.
see with religion, if I look at like something that's positive, yeah, the word submission, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I mean by submission is when we were talking about before about kind of going into the fifth dimension or going into it doesn't have to be the fifth, it could be whatever. It's a basically higher realms where
Yeah.
truth you see it for what it is. There's no thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
Because thinking about it is like something wandering in your mind. Is this true? Is this not? It's beyond that. It's like it's your time now. You're being received. You've received it, whether you've developed
Yeah.
it or just naturally through your experiences or
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
You know what I
saying?
found as well, bro? As
Mm,
as that you get older, right? Um, like you, you, well, I'm going to speak for myself anyway.
mm,
As I've got older, the ability to read the room has greatly improved,
mm.
right?
Yeah,
And when I meet people and that, I'm listening more keenly, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
watching things more closely. And
mm,
that's just experiencing it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like things that you didn't cotton onto when you were like in your 20s, you can get onto it in your 30s, 40s, 50s.
once you
You know
break
what I
from a
mean?
lazy kind of way of thinking, because
Because
sometimes you
no,
don't.
because we have to develop.
Yeah,
So,
got
like to
to.
say, you can't if you meet people, right? Like, and they're still really saying the same things as there was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you say to yourself, well, you've got nothing new. You're not coming with nothing new,
Yeah,
right? And you meet other people who are constantly